Hello, everyone. Welcome to this conversation, which will of particular interest to patients with chronic cough, like me. I'm Sandeep. I am a patient with chronic cough and also a member of Patient Advisory Group of European Lung Foundation, also known as ELF. I'm delighted to have this afternoon Dr. Alyn Morice, who co-chaired in the European Respiratory Society Congress celebrated on 7th till the 11th of September in Vienna, Austria. Dr. Alyn Morice is one of the investigators in the NeuroCough project also, so we'll talk about it afterwards too. He is head of cardiorespiratory studies in Hull York Medical School based at the University of Hull. He's also an honorary consultant physical physician at Hull and East Yorkshire Hospitals as NHS Trust. He specializes in the diagnosis and treatment of cough and has the European Respiratory Society and British Thoracic Society task forces on cough. He's one of the researchers, as I mentioned before, of the NeuroCough that everyone is looking to. So, Alyn, please introduce yourself and tell us what did you come away with from the ERS conference?
Hello, everybody. As Sandeep says, I'm Alyn Morice, and my main interest in life has been cough for over 40 years now. It's a fascinating area, and I first got into it because some tablets can actually cause a cough. And a patient came to me and said that they had a chronic cough, did some tests, couldn't find anything wrong, which is the common thing with people with chronic cough. And the patient herself said, it couldn't be those new tablets I put you on. And I said, don't be silly. How can a tablet cause a cough? And we stopped the tablet, cough went away, started the tablet, cough came back. So I did an experiment to show what was going on and what these tablets, these are ACE inhibitors, antihypertensive drugs usually, ramipril is an example, and they shift the sensitivity of the nerves in the throat. And unbeknownst to me at the time, that was published in 1987, it's the basis of most chronic cough. It is a sensitivity of the nerves, and we've called it cough hypersensitivity syndrome. And since then, interest has grown, and at the ERS Congress, which we're talking about, I'm pleased to say I was able to get all of the posters and the speakers together in a couple of poster sessions, and they were absolutely packed. The interest in chronic cough is enormous now, and we have new drugs for it, and we have drugs in development for it. So the future for a patient with chronic cough is very, very bright, I think. Don't give up.
We won't give it. It has come to really, it's getting recognized right now. As
Yeah.
patients, we also do not look forward to the physician to say, hey, what is my cough? Anything can work on it. So yeah, that's good. And what about nowadays, about the new treatments that are getting licensed nowadays, like the gefapixant? What do you think about it and how it can help patients?
Well, I must have done about 6 studies with gefapixant, and it really, when it works, it really does work. So the what's called the phase 3 studies, the big studies, cough 1 and cough 2 with 2,000 patients with chronic cough, the results were very positive, and about 2/3 of patients respond, and it can be absolutely dramatic.
Mm.
One of the posters that was there was about the patient voice, what patients tell us about it. And I've got a couple of quotes up here on my screen. I'll just read them to you. Prior to this, I felt so much pain. I didn't want to be here. So the side effects are minimal in comparison.
Mm.
It feels like I can cope. Previously, I was at the end of my tether. And doctors often minimize the amount of symptoms. It's just a cough, but in fact, it ruins people's lives. So to have a drug which effectively treats this cough in
Mm.
about 2/3 of patients is fantastic. And subsequent to the publication of these 2 trials, the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, has licensed gefapixant, and it has been able to prescribe in a majority of European countries.
Mm.
So unfortunately, in my case, in England and the NHS, it's not gone through the NHS approvals process. So I have to issue a private prescription for it. And the cost is about £100. So 120 euros should be about that price. But I give it to patients for a week and see whether they respond, because you should respond very quickly to it. The problem is it doesn't work in everybody. So I've got another quote from a lady who it didn't work in. I can't say that this drug has done anything or has had any effect except loss of taste, and that's the major side effect. I'm so disappointed, as I have been following the development of gefapixant. So this is a new way of describing how the patient experience occurs. It's called qualitative research, and I think this is a way forward for the patient voice, and we want to hear from you, from the patient voice, to be put into the medical literature, because a lot of doctors and nurses do not appreciate the amount of suffering a chronic cough patient has. Half the ladies are incontinent, and one of the posters was about the degree of incontinence. And a lot of men have cough syncope, where they faint. Kaylee, my nurse, who's doing this qualitative research, doing her PhD on it, she had a patient yesterday in the clinic. He went home, and on the way home, he had cough syncope while he was driving and crashed his car into a telegraph post and came away with severe bruising. Fortunately, he wasn't killed, because some people do get killed with cough syncope on the road. So it's not a disease that is just a cough. It's a life-changing disease. And at last, we have a licensed product that we can use in the cough clinic. As I say, unfortunately, it hasn't gone through the payment methods for the NHS. I don't know how it's going in other countries.
Here in Spain, I'm from Spain, so here in Spain, it's also not included in the social security, so we have to pay for it. And if we are talking about euros, it's like 148 euros. So it's a price to pay, but you have to try it, I think. And as you say, cough isn't just a cough, and it impacts on your life. And the quality of life that patient has gets worse. And I think Kaylee also have your nice also have some studies done on it, and the quality of life people with cough is worse than other diseases. Okay, so it's really important to show our voice too. Is there any information on the potential new treatments that will be coming?
Yeah, well, there's a son of gefapixant called camilopixant, and there was a seminar at the ERS Congress about the chronic cough and this new development. It works the same way. And what these drugs do is stop the irritation, that tickle that you get, because the tickle is caused by release of a substance called ATP. It gets onto the nerves and irritates the nerves. So it blocks that ATP signal. Camilopixant does a similar sort of thing, and that's in phase 3 trials at the moment, what we're doing. But the drug that I think we would want to talk about again is another drug, which is like menthol. It's called AX8, and it is a lozenge that you suck. And you know when you get that tickle, and it's going to be in an embarrassing situation, you know, you're in church or in the theater, and you've got that tickle, and, oh, well, you suck this lozenge, right? And it actually reduces the sensation quite dramatically. So one of my patients who I've been seeing for must be 10 years or so, it's the only thing that's worked with her. And she says that it lasts much longer than you would do with the menthol lozenge or whatever. So that's another hope. And we're just about to start another different drug, which blocks some of the nerves. It's like a local anesthetic, but it only tackles the nerves which are sensitive to the cough. So I think it has great potential, this particular drug. And we've done one experiment, and there was a very nice dose response curve in my patients, and we had great success with the top dose. This is a slightly different preparation of the same drug, and it's going into phase 2 studies as we speak.
That's really great news for us, because
Yeah, three different mechanisms, right?
wow.
All
No,
right.
no, and it's like amazing, because Gefapixant is the first and only drug that came out for the chronic cough, and now I can see like there are three more drugs. It's like it gives some hope for
Oh yeah,
patients with chronic cough.
drugs work in different people in different ways, right? So we need
Mm-hmm.
this spectrum of drugs because I use some of the old-fashioned drugs in my clinic, like morphine, for example, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
effective in some people, but only about a third of people. So you give it a go and see whether it works, and if that doesn't work, I use other drugs. There's a drug which is an antibiotic called azithromycin, but it works on the movement of the gullet, and it helps to stop the coughing because the irritation is often due to poor movement of the gullet.
Yeah, that's so true. And how about like most of the patients are like, okay, I do have cough, but how can I grade my chronic cough? How can I monitor my cough? Are there any ways about that?
That's a good question. See, the trials of gefapixant, we used a cough monitor, but that cough monitor, because it was, fairly old-fashioned, only lasted 1 day. So now several firms have developed a cough monitor which works continuously. One is a little necklace that you wear and you put it by the side of your bed and it charges up and gives all the cough data down. There are other systems where they have a smart speaker in the patient's home and they can hear the patient coughing and record the number of coughs. And it's all done in a very confidential way because it's all encrypted and it only takes the sounds which sound like a cough to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't record conversation and all the rest of it. These modern systems, I think, are probably going to be used in the clinic far more than they are at the moment. But we're still in just the development stage of that. But the
Mm-hmm.
consequence of these continuous monitors is that we found that 1 day's cough recording is probably not enough to take account of the variability. So I have a bit of a chronic cough. When I've been out for a beer and a curry, the following morning I'm coughing like blazes. Right. So cough is a variable phenomenon, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a variable within the day as well. So that what we have been measuring up until now is coughs per hour. But some people cough regularly throughout the day, and they may have quite a high cough count, but it's not really bothering them very much because it's just a and that's
Mm-hmm.
it. What really impacts the patients, we've found using this qualitative research, is these bouts of coughing, and then you cough, 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 and then you're incontinent. Oh,
Yes.
it's awful.
Yes.
So we've invented a way of counting the number of bouts, counting how
Mm-hmm.
much time you're not coughing, and counting how many times you cough during a bout. And there are drug studies where average cough counting has shown nothing, but when you look at the bouts and the intensity of the bouts, then the drug has actually worked. But the way we were analyzing it previously was wrong. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think gefapixant was rejected by the FDA because they thought that only one cough an hour was insufficient to
Mm-hmm.
impact the patient. Whereas in fact, the panel that discussed it didn't know anything about cough. One cough an hour, does that matter? Well, it does if it's reducing the number of bouts and the intensity of the coughing during that bout.
That's so true because depending on the cough intensity and the severity and also the urgency, like
Yeah,
I need to cough right now.
yeah,
It depends on the type of cough you get on the bout or the frequency also.
yeah.
So it's a great way to measure it.
So this is a great new way of looking at cough is to measure it
Hmm.
in terms of bouts and intensity of coughing rather than the way we were doing it before. So
Hmm.
hopefully these drugs will be approved on the basis of what matters to the patient rather than what the doctor thinks matters to the patient.
Now that's great news. Patients are being listened in this kind of treatments, and till now there were patients that I hadn't came to know they had cough like what, 30 years, and it's like, my gosh, that's a whole life that can be. And now they are getting hope that like, okay, there is a treatment, we can get treated. That's really good.
Well,
And
in those studies of the 2,000 patients with chronic cough, the average length of time that they'd had the cough was 11 years. My own record is 66 years chronic cough, and I made a better.
well, mine is just 3 years for now. I hope it will get cured before.
Well, there are these drugs, these old-fashioned drugs, which I use, but most people don't understand what causes the cough, which is this irritation
Mhm.
caused usually by poor movement of the gullet. So I use pro-motility agents. Metoclopramide's one, domperidone is another, and
Mhm.
azithromycin I mentioned earlier on. So there are treatments which do work in some people, which are available now. Gefapixant coming along, I think is going to be a valuable addition to our arsenal that we are using against chronic cough.
No, that's great. Now we are talking about the studies. Tell us more about the NeuroCough study that's being conducted right now, and how is it
Yep.
going?
Well, NeuroCough was set up nearly 4 years ago now. And what it is, it's called a registry study. So what we want is patients who come along and we take a detailed history and then perform some simple examination and an X-ray, for example. And we're compiling a registry of what patients tell us, right? So in that, we've got 1,000 patients now. So the 1,000 patients, we're looking to see whether there's any patterns there. And Peter Cho gave a very nice poster at the ERS Congress showing that the pattern of cough is very similar. Each individual has slightly different symptoms. Some people have a lot of throat clearing. Other people have a lot of nasal symptoms, right? But it's not really the nose that's causing the cough. It's the stuff going up the nose which is causing the cough. And other people, they inhale the stuff and it goes in their lungs and they get a thing like asthma. So about 20% of people have this asthma-like reaction to the refluxate, and that can be treated with steroids, for example. So each individual is an individual, but there is a common pattern within patients with chronic cough, and that's why we've decided in NeuroCough to seek from the WHO a classification of chronic cough, because it's not a disease recognized by many doctors. I bet most of the audience will have been along to the doctor and the doctor says, well, I don't know what's wrong.
I had that experience. I've been like from doctor to doctor till I met with the Dr. Christian Domingos, who works here in Spain. It was like a Lego case. I just needed a brick, and that was Christian, and he told me about my cough.
The problem is that the average doctor has never been trained about chronic cough. So I've got an AI, a bot, right, which you can talk to. And it's been trained on the ERS guidelines and the British Thoracic Society clinical statement on chronic cough. So it's got all the recommended things from the experts. So you can say, why do I cough to it? And it'll give you an answer. And what's cough hypersensitivity? And it'll give you an answer. I'm quite proud of it. If you want to use it, it's on a website called tussogenics.com.
The name of the board is Alyn board.
Alyn, yes. I'm Alyn, and it's Alan. And if you want to volunteer for any of the clinical trials, like NeuroCough or like the camlipixant studies that's going on at the moment, it'll also enable you to register and get screened for that. And we'll put you in touch with the companies that are organizing the clinical trials.
Wow,
yeah.
That's really great. Wow. Is there anything else you would like to add about the Congress?
Well, other than say it's a time of great hope in the field of chronic cough, but what we need to do is educate the doctors. Getting the message out to the medical profession and the nursing profession that it's not just a cough, it's a chronic cough, which is a disease of its own right, and it causes an enormous amount of misery to patients.
I do agree with you, Alyn, on this part. Well, that's it for today, and see you in the next Congress in 2025.
Look forward to it.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.